Good evening, everyone. Oh, we got to fix that. Hang on.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's try that again to make sure we're not getting that feedback. There we go. Good evening, everyone. We want to welcome you to the August 4th meeting of the Santa Barbara County Citizens Independent Redistricting Commission. And we will call the meeting to order at just after 6 p.m. We will start with a roll call. Ms. Tilton, would you help us? And maybe just for the community's benefit, as the commissioners respond, maybe we could just identify those that are participating remotely, just so we make sure we know where everybody is.
Okay. Commissioner Trotsky.
Present.
And Commissioner present and in person. Commissioner Twibell.
Present and on Zoom.
Okay. Commissioner McClintock. Didn't. Present and in person. Okay. Commissioner or Vice Chair Turley. Present and in person. Commissioner Bradley. Present and in person. Commissioner Kasich. Present and in person. Commissioner Bray.
Present
And in person. Commissioner Ochoa.
Virtually present.
Present and virtually. Commissioner Adams.
Present in person.
Present in person. And Chair Morris.
Present.
Present in person.
Very well. So, excuse me. Our first item of business this evening, we're going to get this in the right order this time. So our first order of business is our public hearing. And this is an opportunity to share some information with our folks from the public that are here with us, either here in the hearing room or virtually, about redistricting and the process and how you can get engaged in that process, as well as for us to take some testimony from members of the public about communities of interest and other factors that you would like the commission to consider as we ultimately later in the fall consider maps that will be submitted for consideration. So Ms. Tilton, are you going to kick us off this evening with the presentation?
Yes, I will.
Very good.
Good evening. My name is Shalise Tilton. I'm Senior Consultant with National Demographics Corporation. We've been serving communities, cities, counties, various districts, special districts for over 40 years. Since the California Voting Rights Act come into effect, we've done, I think, 368. We've assisted 368 jurisdictions in creating districts and in redistricting. We've had several meetings up to this point. I believe that our meeting on Thursday will be our 7th official hearing, although we've been meeting since, I believe, October. So this commission has been meeting on and off and on and off and on and off and on and on and on to work on public outreach and to get where we are today. And this is the getting towards the end of the pre-map hearings. And then after maps are drawn, we'll get into the post-map hearings. On your screen, we have the upcoming meetings. We have August 12th. It's our next meeting. That will be a more workshop style format where people are encouraged to bring their computers, and we'll be having roundtable discussions and roundtable actually working on maps and some more hands-on interaction with how the tools work. Then October 6th, we'll be having another meeting. This will also be another pre-draft map meeting. And then we will be off for the month of September and then coming back in November where we can start to look at maps. Today's goals are we're wanting to listen to you about what works, what what you want your communities of interest to look like. And of course, we'll be helping with some mapping tools, trainings, and hope that you leave empowered to give us feedback on the communities of interest and how you want to see the districts comprised. Redistricting happens every 10 years. New lines are drawn to reflect equal population in each of the districts. And those lines will determine who you vote for your own supervisor that represents your own district. It's important that the community get involved because we want to hear from you. We want our diverse communities represented. We want to hear what those communities are and what communities should be kept together in a single district. As I mentioned, redistricting is a process. It's largely guided by the Fair Maps Act. It's also guided by the county's ordinance, and it involves a series of public hearings, workshops, the public mapping tools that we'll be discussing later in the presentation, an analysis of census and other data, and then eventually we'll be having public review of all maps. Who draws the lines? We have a commission here who is wanting to hear from the public, actually is wanting the public to draw the lines. Ultimately, the commission will be selecting the final maps, but we're trying to encourage every resident of the county to be involved in the process and to submit maps. And there are different tools for different purposes, different tools for different levels of skill and different levels of interest that we'll be showing during this presentation. Measure G was approved in 2018, which formed this commission and gave this commission the authority to approve the final map. So this commission will be approving the final map after all the hearings are heard. And here's a snapshot of the commissioners. Most of them you see here in present and on Zoom. Along with the public hearings that are required, the Fair Maps Act and also the county's ordinance requires extensive public outreach, including online outreach, social media outreach, traditional media, face-to-face. We're doing phone calls. We want to hear from you on other ways we can reach those hard-to-reach communities. As I mentioned, there's 7 hearings before the maps are drawn. And during these hearings, we want to hear from the residents about what defines their communities, what creates a community of interest. And then once the maps are drawn, we start reviewing maps, we'll have 7 hearings to gather feedback on those draft maps with final adoption deadline of being December 15th. There are rules when we draw the lines, the federal laws. There can be, of course, as I mentioned, there needs to be equal population, and that's based on the census, the 2020 census, and the census has been delayed, as we all know. So we're still waiting to get those final numbers. We are told that on August 16th, we will have raw data that the state can start using. And when I mean the state can start using it, the state needs to go through a process where they zero out all the state prisons and reassign those prisoners to their home addresses. The state has mentioned it could take up to 6 weeks for that process. And once that information is released, then there could be a 1-week waiting period depending on when it's released. The period's waived for close to December 15th. So that's why there's a question there. But then we can start to release maps. We also must follow the Federal Voting Rights Act, meaning we can't draw lines that would dilute the voting strength of our protected class citizens. The second column here is a combination of both the Fair Maps Act and Measure G, the county's ordinance. The first criterion, this is in order of priority. We must follow the spirit of the California Voting Rights Act. And then in the Fair Maps Act spells out the following: geographical contiguity, meaning you can't have separate pieces here and there that make up one district. In the most part, it needs to be one solid boundary. Next is undivided neighborhoods and communities of interest. And because that one is a little bit harder to define, that is why we rely on public testimony and testimony from the commissioners of what those communities of interest are. And we will go into a little bit further explanation of what communities of interest mean. undivided cities and census designated places. The next, easily identifiable boundaries. If possible, just think if someone is trying to verbalize where their district boundaries are and they're able to say it follows this mountain range or it follows this waterway or railroad or major highway or freeway. And then compactness. And in this case, compactness means we do not bypass one group of one neighborhood to get to a more distant neighborhood. And then in the ordinance, it spells out topography, geography, and cohesiveness. Once we've met all the criteria in those first two columns, we can consider traditional redistricting principles. These are not mandates. These are some things that can be considered. One of those is future population growth. So if we know there's an area that has planned growth as far as housing, we can slightly underpopulate that particular district, but only within a certain margin. It can only be a 10% difference between the least populated district and the greatest populated district. Another thing to consider, if it's possible to minimize those voters that are shifted from a different election year. So if voters reside in 2022 election year and anticipating voting in 2022, we want to minimize the number of voters that are switched to a 2024 district. And in addition, we cannot consider the residents of any incumbent or political candidate or any political party, or we can't draw maps to favor or discriminate against those. In the law now, communities of interest is actually defined, and up until January 2020, we did not have a legal definition, but California defines a community of interest as a contiguous population that shares common social and economic interests that should be included within a single district for purposes of its effective and fair representation. So the purpose of this public hearing is we're going to ask the community to define your neighborhood and what are the community's geographical boundaries. Keep in mind that everything we hear, we need to translate eventually to a map. So it's very helpful if we're given street names or maybe areas around a very defined landmark, or such as a park or a certain area. And sometimes your idea of what a particular neighborhood is different than someone else's. So it's best if we hear actual street names wherever possible. And then we want to hear how your community is impacted, and impacted perhaps by county policy decisions or other common concerns. Different ways you can participate. Of course, we're wanting you to describe your community. That's going to be very important when we're drawing the maps, so that we can refer to those maps. And especially when you submit maps, if you give us a description of why you drew the map that particular way, it's very helpful. We will be keeping a log of all the map submitter comments, so that we can refer to those and understand why a particular boundary was drawn a certain way. And then, of course, we want you to participate in drawing a map. And I'll be going through those methods in just a moment. And we want you to provide input in whatever way is comfortable for you directly to the commission. You can visit our website at drawsantabarbaracounty.org. There's a place on that website for you to submit comments directly. Here again is our website, drawsantabarbaracounty.org. You can learn more by coming to our meetings. As I mentioned, our next meeting coming up on, now I just clicked away from the date. Is it August 12th? Is going to be in Solvang, and that will be a more casual atmosphere. We won't have a business portion of our meeting, so we'll all be participating around tables, and hopefully people bring their computers and their paper maps, and we can start to help folks in drawing maps if you want the help. Our redistricting website, our email address is redistricting@countyofsb.org. If you have any questions, or if you know of any groups that we can contact that we should reach out to, that either want to host a meeting or want to get additional information, please give us that information as well. We have a particular form on the website for outreach community organizations. You can visit that and see if your organization is already listed. And if it's not, then go ahead and submit it for us to reach out to those groups. Now let's talk about the mapping tools. If you have not had a chance to visit the website drawsantabarbaracounty.org, please do, and then click on the Draw a Map tab, and it will have the various tools that are available that you can start using now. The first one of those is Story Map. Story Map is a way for you to look at various maps that have been uploaded and available for review. This will help you in identifying communities of interest. Some of the maps include the various other political jurisdictions that exist. There are state districting lines, there are city district lines. I think we have fire protection areas. I believe we have some zoning information on there. We have the census designated places and cities identified on there. So if you get a chance, go into Draw a Map and then and go through Story Map and scroll through the various maps that are available. And we will continue to add to that Story Map. We also have a simple map review tool. This map review tool is important for you to use when you're using your paper maps, because as you'll see, if you picked up a paper map while you were here, or if you've downloaded one from the website, you'll see it's difficult to see the street names. There is a paper map you can print out that has some of the street names, but if you use the interactive review map, it will also have the same population units identified, and you can zoom in very closely and see the exact names of all the streets. Once maps have been submitted, they will also be downloaded to this online interactive review map. And you can actually overlay different maps. You can bring up the existing districts and maybe overlay one of the maps that have been submitted so you can see what the differences are. So these are just both Story Map and this online interactive review map are just for purposes of viewing the maps. You're not able to draw with those, but it'd be very useful when you are using the tools. For drawing maps, you can use the paper kit. We have some of them printed out here, or you can go online and just print it out, or you can use any map of your choosing. So if you have a map at home, you can go ahead and just draw the map and submit it. Although it'd be difficult if you were just using a map that didn't have any population identified. So what we have done with the tools is we have created population units and written in the population counts in each of those squares. I know it's hard to see on the screen, but you can see little numbers in each of those squares. And then you would just use a calculator in this case to add it up. Or if you're familiar with Excel, we have an Excel spreadsheet that you can download from the site. And the Excel spreadsheet is used in conjunction with a second paper map that has all of those population units identified consecutively by number. So say, for example, after I've drawn my map and I have I have the population units that are numbered 1 through, say, 15, I'll assign to my District 3. I can open up my spreadsheet and assign District 3 to those population unit counts that are 1 through 15. Then open the next tab and see what the results are. It'll tell me how close I am to be reaching the ideal population per district, and as well as the citizen voting age population. The citizen voting age population is important. That will give the percentage of the protected class group for each of the protected class groups: Hispanic, Black, Asian, and I think those are the only 3 that are listed for this county here. Let's see. Non-Hispanic, Black. We do have a Filipino. We have Asians. Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's not right. Non-Hispanic, Black, non-Hispanic, Hispanic, and the Asian Pacific Islander. District R is new this year. District R is a way to use a paintbrush tool and just paint in. You can paint in the various neighborhoods, and it will color in each of the census blocks. That's important to know that when you're using a map, the geography, the smallest measure of geography that we're using is census blocks. That's the smallest available from the federal census. So sometimes those census blocks have funny shapes. So when you're drawing, and if you are especially in a area that's not heavily populated, some of those census blocks are large and odd shaped. So if you touch that paintbrush with your tool, it's going to highlight that whole census block area. And we must follow that census block geography. So you want that. It's just sometimes it might be confusing because you're drawing a line and the line looks different than how you drew it. That's going to be true with District R and the next mapping tool that I'm showing you. But with District R, you can just draw in your neighborhood or your particular area, or actually you could draw in the entire county. It's your choice. And other maps that have been created are shared on District R if you want to look at those that have been submitted. And the most powerful tool we have available is the CalPERS Maptitude Online for Redistricting tool. And this tool, it has on the website, we have a quick start guide. We also have a video that will show you how to use the tool. I failed to mention we have a video for District R as well. So this particular tool, you're able to zoom in very closely and to get a more refined map. You can start with a blank base, or you can start with the existing districts. If you want to take the existing districts and just modify them, then you'd start with the existing district map. And this will show the data for various categories, including that citizen voting age population, as well as other socioeconomic information for each of the districts once they're drawn. This map you submit online when you're ready to submit it. If you're not ready to submit it for us, to NDC for consideration here, but you maybe want to share it with the community, there's a way to share your map. And then when someone opens up the tool, they see all the maps that have been shared. And perhaps someone can take your map and copy it and make it their own and change it slightly. And then they would have a map that would be their own with just a few tweaks based on your map as the base. And again, I encourage you to go to the website at drawsantabarbaracounty.org and then the Draw a Map tool. It'll walk you through each of these tools. And as I mentioned, there are videos for the District R and this CalPERS Maptitude Online for Redistricting. Again, our upcoming meetings, August 12th from noon to 2. If you wonder why we're having various times for these meetings, that's called out for in both the Fair Maps Act and the ordinance, that we meet at various times so we can meet various work schedules. That one will be in Solvang. And then on Wednesday, October 6th, we'll have a meeting back here in this room. And then the next meeting will be November 3rd. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and either now or after the public hearing, whatever is your pleasure.
So let's do that before we invite folks up to make any comments. Let's answer any questions that they may have about the presentation. Commissioners, you've all seen this a couple times, but maybe a new question's come up. So let me just glance left and right and see if any of you have questions that you want to clarify. I think we're probably good on that. Anybody in the audience that has a question about if you want to come to the podium real quick, and we need to get you on the microphone so we can get it in the recording.
My question is in regards to the list of languages. I thought, is that languages that are available for listening to or language groups in our area?
Sorry about that. I didn't turn your mic on. Can you do that one more time?
Sure. My question has to do with the language groups that showed on the screen. Are those languages representative of the population in our area, or are they languages that you can access with the tools?
That particular slide was just for the CalPERS Maptitude Online, and it just relates to that tool.
Okay.
So you're able to use that specific tool in each of the languages.
Okay.
And then the website has Google Translate, so it has
Many.
many,
Right.
many languages.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it's not, there isn't something that's designating communities of interest by language groups.
The Secretary of State has listed the language that are required of the county, and I need to look that up. Reese, I don't know if you recall, I believe it was, I'd have to look up to
Okay.
remember
Well,
what
so
language.
maybe
It's the same as the voter information guide.
Okay, so then I have another question. The list of groups of interest had non-Hispanic white, Hispanic, all those different groups. I didn't see anything with indigenous groups. Is that not considered a specific group in this process?
Yes, that is a protected class group. However, I don't believe we were seeing a highest. Oh, let me get that answer and I will respond back and I will connect with you after to get it to you specifically and
Okay.
have it answered at the next meeting.
Uh-huh.
But I don't have a concentration map for that. And typically I don't when we don't show a high enough concentration to be a
To call
demographic,
out that group.
have demographic significance.
All right.
But I would need to find out that exact answer and then I will make sure it's answered at the next meeting.
Mhm.
And I can also get your information, make sure you get an answer.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for those questions. Anyone else with a question? Yes, sir.
Cliff Solomon. I've been, I need to, there are some wonderful tools here and I need to spend some time with them. But I've been grappling with this idea of the communities of interest. For example, I live in Orchid and I can divide Orchid into several groups and very significant differences. You have, say, the east part of Orchid, which economically is less than, say, Deerfield or Foxenwood, which is where I live. And so the dilemma that I have is how small a group or how large a group do I try and focus on? But the idea of a community of interest can really narrow and create a silo. And in some ways, what we want to do is not create silos. What we want is to work together. And so it's a large topic for me. I don't know whether anyone has a response as to how can I create a map that identifies the correct group while still doesn't create a silo based on race or economics or whatever. So that's, I guess, that's what I'm wrestling with.
Sure. Just tell you want to take a crack at that, or I can share an idea, but
Well, I think that that's not an uncommon concern, but on the other hand, one of the impetus from the Citizen Voting Rights Act is to create districts that share commonalities so that they have more strength in their voting power. So it does, in some effect, create polarization in a sense, but it also creates diversity on the elected board. So I guess there's two ways to look at it. It brings inclusivity, but it also is exclusive at the same time. I don't know if you have a better answer.
no, I was just going to point out just the sheer scale. So, as you saw in the presentation, a district's got to have 89,000 residents.
Yeah.
So, that's going to force you to, maybe you identify your narrow interest group or community of interest, but then you need to think about what other communities of interest do I want to bring into my group to get me to 89,000 in a way that I think will most likely result in a representative who speaks to my need.
Mhm.
So you probably do start small, but then it's about how many small pieces do you need to put together to get, to the 89,000, right?
Okay, all right,
Great question.
okay, thank you.
Or put another way,
Yes, Kate.
the county is big. We only have 5 districts, 5 pieces to divide the population of the county. So we have to we're thinking locally, but in a county-wide way.
Hmm.
what I try to remind myself of.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right, well, let's transition then and open it up for some public testimony. And we will invite members of the audience, both here in the room as well as those that are participating remotely, to indicate that you'd like to share some interest. We'd love to hear about how you define your community. And to the point we were just making, where do you think that community fits in the scale of 5 districts within Santa Barbara County? So as you come to the podium, if you're here in the room, we would ask you to state your name so that they can record that. And ideally, if you could identify maybe which district you live in currently, just so we kind of get that perspective. And then we'd love to hear your thoughts. We will also take comments from those who are online. And in doing that, we would ask you to use the raise your hand feature in Zoom to indicate, and our staff will kind of call you out and we'll turn your mic on and give you a chance to share with us. So Ms. Tilton, let's start with maybe an online commenter.
Yes, we have Lee Heller.
Very good. Good evening, Ms. Heller, Dr. Heller, excuse me.
Good evening, Chair Morris and members of the commission. I just got a weird thing that just shows my name and you all went away. Are you all still there?
We are, yes.
It's a strange little blip where just my own name showed up on my screen. Good to see you all again. Sorry I missed last time. I did take a break and I hope I'm forgiven. I'm not going to speak directly to my district or which communities of interest I need to keep together, but I wanted to speak a little bit to what one of the previous people raised and what I also saw in public comment that was submitted as written testimony on the issue of communities of interest. I think there might be a misunderstanding that a district will or should consist of only a single community of interest. I saw that in some of the public comment, particularly people who were complaining, and I understand why, about, for example, having Isla Vista and Solvang in the same district. It's pretty uncommon to have a district that consists of a single community of interest, and that may be what the previous speaker was getting at with his concern about silos. You might find yourself in a situation where you had 89,000 people that were a single community of interest and few, if any, others. But in general, there are going to be multiple communities of interest in any district, and that the goal is more to keep communities of interest together than to have a district that consists only of a single community of interest. So I just thought that was worth clarifying. And also very briefly, somebody in public comment was complaining about people changing party registrations in order to serve on the commission, and that's actually not permitted by the ordinance. So to anyone listening who thinks that's happening, that is not correct. So I just wanted to clarify both those points. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So anybody in the room have a comment or wish to address the commission? Yes, sir. Come to the podium, and if you could introduce yourself with your name and which supervisor district you live in today.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Segura. Pronouns he, him, is. I live in District 5 here in Santa Maria, and I did type up a little something that I wanted to share with all of you today. So going to be fluctuating between my phone and speaking up to all of you. But yeah, so I currently serve as the youth and young adult community organizer for a local nonprofit called Cause, as the shirt says. And I'm here today because I believe that the Santa Maria Valley, along with Guadalupe, is an important community of interest that we should consider grouping into one large Latino district so that we can voice proper representation for these communities, for their shared experiences and needs. So there are various reasons why I believe that we are a community of interest that deserves equitable and effective representation. So first and foremost, we are an agricultural working class farm worker community that continues to face disparities in housing, education, and healthcare with unique economic needs. We are also a community of immigrant families with a much larger share of Latinx residents, immigrants, and Spanish and indigenous language speakers than our surrounding regions. Further, throughout my upbringing in Santa Maria, I have seen our communities be disproportionately affected by environmental injustices due to pollution from oil and gas, agricultural chemicals, and groundwater depletion. So as someone who was born and raised in Santa Maria, but is fortunate enough to be a recent graduate of UC Santa Barbara and former resident of Isla Vista, I believe that Guadalupe has very little in common with the southern parts of Santa Barbara County. And this is geographically and culturally. However, I do believe that Guadalupe shares far more in common with District 3's Western Santa Maria areas. And because of these reasons, should be naturally, to me at least, and to many others here, might most likely be in the same district for this representation. There are issues that should be considered together because not only do we share cultural and economic similarities, but we also do share a lot of life together. Whether it's events happening here in Santa Maria, events happening in Guadalupe, we fluctuate between the two cities. I grew up believing that Guadalupe was a part of Santa Maria. I am the son of farm workers. I saw my parents migrating to Guadalupe and coming back home in Santa Maria. I think that we should be represented by someone who understands this. Finally, I do want to voice that cause is in favor of the county commission appointing Michael Hartman as Janet Rios' replacement as the most qualified candidate to voice and represent our needs and concerns. Thank you all for your time and your labor on all of this. It does not go unnoticed. And I really hope that you take into consideration what myself and everyone else here has to say, regardless of our perspectives. And thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to remove my mask. My name is Elizabeth Schneider, and I live in District 5. I'm here this evening to support Michael Hartman for the vacancy on the commission. As a high school government teacher and coach, Mr. Hartman brings experience comparable to that of Janet Rios' background in education. Mr. Hartman has modeled the same civic engagement that he teaches to his students in the classroom. He seems to have a very clear understanding of the redistricting process and has demonstrated an eagerness to reach out to and listen to members of the public. If you were to appoint a Republican to fill the current vacancy, it would result in the Republican Party being overrepresented by more than 10 points. If you were to appoint Michael Hartman, a Democrat, Democrats would be proportionally represented, comprising 45% of the commission compared to 46% of all county voters. Please consider Michael Hartman to fill the vacant commission seat. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else have input they would like to provide specifically around districts and their formation or qualifications? I would just point out that there will be an opportunity to provide public comment about the appointment when we get to that item later on the agenda. So at this time, we'd like to particularly focus on the district makeups. So welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you all hear me well with the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Hi, my name is Kira Solis. I use she, her pronouns. It's great to see you all in person finally. And I'm here tonight on behalf of the Planned Parenthood Central Coast Action Fund. I'm in District 3 as well. I live in Isla Vista, but I have family up here, and so I've been up in the area for a while. So if it seems like I'm a little too familiar with here, that's why. So Santa Barbara County is almost entire majority Latino, and we really need to make sure that our Latinx communities are represented. And we really want to urge you to consider putting Guadalupe and Santa Maria in the same district because, like one of our previous speakers mentioned, there are so many similarities here. For example, shared language, proximity to the agricultural sector, etc. And you also might be wondering why Planned Parenthood is involved in redistricting, which fair question. And it's important to us because we want to make sure that Planned Parenthood Central Coast patients are represented not just in the healthcare that they get, but also at the Board of Supervisors level. 58% of our patients in Santa Barbara County are Latinx, and we know that they face disparities in housing, education, transportation, and there's more to healthcare than just going to the doctor's office. And so we really want to make sure that they are represented at the supervisors level and have a seat at the table for the decisions that are affecting them. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We also reissue the invitation to those who are joining us remotely. If you would like to participate in this conversation, please indicate by using the raised hand, and the staff will identify that you're there. Dr. Phillips.
We have two requests to speak. The first is from Ricardo Del Hoyo.
Good evening, Mr. Del Hoyo. Welcome. You may be on mute, sir.
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go. Welcome.
Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is Ricardo Del Hoyo. I'm a union representative with United Domestic Workers. I'd like to thank the County of Santa Barbara Citizens Independent Redistricting Commission for hosting both this virtually and in person. I'm here representing the over 1,200 providers in the city of Santa Maria and the nearly 100 providers working and living in the city of Guadalupe. These providers take care of the most vulnerable in our community, providing care to individuals with a disability or individuals over the age of 65. We know that Santa Barbara County is a Latino majority county. Therefore, we need a Latino majority district. The Santa Maria Valley, including the cities of Santa Maria and Guadalupe, is an important community of interest in Santa Barbara County as they share both language and cultural similarities. We are an agricultural, working class, and farm worker community facing disparities in healthcare, education, and housing with unique economic needs. Therefore, it's important and critical that our district lines be drawn in a way that is transparent, fair, and community-driven. We hope that our final district maps represent our diverse communities, reflect the will of the people, and afford everyone equal and fair representation. The separation of communities is felt impractical and unjust. Guadalupe shares so much more with Santa Maria than it does with mid-county cities. We hope this commission will correct this and these new maps to keep the communities of Santa Maria and Guadalupe together as they can benefit from common representation in government. Thank you for your time and your work on redistricting.
Thank you.
The next request to speak is from Maria Vega.
Good evening, Ms. Vega. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. My name is Maria Vega, and I identify as a Latina and have been a Santa Maria resident the majority of my life. I am also staff attorney at the Immigrant Legal Defense Center in Santa Maria. I am a federal litigator representing folks in their immigration removal cases. Most of my clients are women, children, and families who live in Santa Maria and Guadalupe, who came from Latin American countries seeking refuge in the United States. Santa Barbara County is a Latino majority county, and therefore we need a Latino majority district. One clear way to accomplish this goal would be to join Santa Maria and Guadalupe in one single district. These neighboring cities make up an important community of interest in Santa Barbara County because they are a community of immigrant families with a much larger share of Latina, Latino, Latinx residents, immigrants, and Spanish and indigenous language speakers than the surrounding region. I know this is true because, like I mentioned, I directly represent folks from both Santa Maria and Guadalupe who have had the same familial and cultural ties. They speak the same languages, they experience the same difficulties and advantages as they integrate into their larger communities. And because of these shared experiences, folks from both Santa Maria and Guadalupe face the same barriers to access justice and are in need of the same legal services. This is why the Legal Defense Center has offered, the Immigrant Legal Defense Center has offered both offices in Santa Maria and in Santa Barbara, because we understand that needs vary between these two cities, even within the same county. I invite the commission to join Santa Maria and Guadalupe in one district, and in doing so, have the Latina, Latino, Latinx community appropriately represented on the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you very much.
We have a request to speak from Julia Bischoff.
Okay, we'll take that one and then we'll come back to come to you next, sir. If you just wait right there.
My name's Julie Bischoff. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Okay. I would like to ask, when you are redistricting, our county that you consider moving UCSB and Isla Vista in with Goleta and possibly District 2. I would like to add that, I mean, the students shop in the Fairview area. They communicate, I mean, commute there, they live there. It is really unfortunate that they are put in an agricultural district, the District 3. It doesn't seem to make sense. So I think they would be better represented if they were in District 2. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Diaz Correa. I'm a first-generation immigrant, or first-generation citizen, sorry. My parents immigrated to Guadalupe in the 1980s, and I was born and raised in Santa Maria. As many Guadalupe residents know, they don't have a hospital, so everyone is born in Santa Maria. And again, that shows how these two communities are connected. Growing up, I also went to the school district. Obviously, I started at the Mary Buren School in Guadalupe. And as I moved along to Santa Maria, I also did not know that they were two different towns. Only recently did I actually learn that. But, you know, I went to the Mary Buren School in Guadalupe. After that, to the Bonita School District, Bonita School, directly in between. For junior high, I went to Arianas in the unincorporated junior high there in Tanglewood. And for high school, I joined many friends from Guadalupe and Tanglewood at Santa Maria High School, where I graduated and then went to study biochemistry in Montana. And I only recently moved back a couple years ago to work with the Community Environmental Council. They are an environmental nonprofit, and I am a community ambassador, particularly for North County, and particularly for Guadalupe, where I currently live. Like my examples show, these communities are interconnected. Many people do not know that there is a difference. And when they are trying to advocate for themselves, they're often divided by county lines, district lines, city lines, and that does not even include the unincorporated areas in between. We have a Latin majority in the county. We need a Latin majority district to properly represent ourselves. I'm here as a community advocate to talk about climate change, climate justice, and to talk about our air quality, but I can't do that if citizens don't know who to turn to. If myself have a hard time dealing with these county district lines, these city lines, and I have lived here my entire life, I can only imagine people who may not be as engaged, but want equal representation. So I think Guadalupe and Santa Maria are a community of interest. And I urge you to follow people's recommendations and people's lived experiences. And again, I went to school here. I went to school in Guadalupe, and I voted here. Even though I live in District 3 and live in Guadalupe, I voted here, and I voted probably for some of you to be in this district and to represent us. And so I thank you, and I thank you for the space to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, welcome.
Hello, my name is Casey Mata. I'm 17 years old. I'm a student at Pioneer Valley High School, going into my senior year. And I'm here today to ask you to consider voting on a district that encompasses Western Santa Maria and Guadalupe. So as I said before, I'm 17, born and raised in Santa Maria. I spent all 17 years here in, Santa Maria. Just like other members who have spoken, I thought Santa Maria and Guadalupe were the same thing, almost synonymous. My parents also did the daily commute, going to the agricultural fields, kind of became a second home for them and myself as well, as they spent a lot of time there. And I would go with them on their car rides to pick up their checks. And like my family and other families, and especially my extended family, they relied on jobs provided by the agricultural scene that exists within Guadalupe. Very little employment actually in Santa Maria. And when our advisors actually showed us the map that separates Santa Maria from Guadalupe, it kind of didn't make sense that like so many Santa Maria citizens were actually working in Guadalupe, but weren't being fairly recognized. So I ask you to consider grouping these two areas together because we deserve to be represented fairly. Both communities are very similar in jobs, income, and culture. And Guadalupe being represented in the same district as communities like Buellton and Goleta isn't fair to them because of the difference in priority and concern. Redrawing county lines that encompass both Guadalupe and Western Santa Maria would better allow district representatives to better focus on specific priorities and concerns that the communities have to get things done. So commission board members, I hope you will take into consideration these communities of interest when making decisions about districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, do we have anybody else online?
Not at this time.
Okay. Anyone else here in the chambers? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalia Sanchez, and I'm with Cause. I'm a student from Pioneer Valley, and I'm an incoming sophomore. I think Guadalupe should be in the same district as West Santa Maria. We have a similar community because many people in Santa Maria go to Guadalupe to work there. They're close to each other, and I feel that if they can't make decisions together in the same district, it would not end up having as big as an impact as it would be expected. For example, if Guadalupe's district were to make a decision for its environment to have decreased air pollution, it would not make that much of a difference because the town right next to them, Santa Maria, is doing what they declared not to do. It would be better for them to make the decision together. That is why I think Guadalupe should be in the same district as Santa Maria. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on down.
Okay, so hi, my name is Yasmin Vicente. I'm a resident in District 5 of Santa Maria, and I'm with Pause. I believe one of the main reasons why we should unite Santa Maria and Guadalupe in the same district is because of the agricultural, working class, and farm worker similarities in both cities. And also Santa Maria and Guadalupe have more in common than Guadalupe does with cities, or places like Solvang and Buellton. We see it in our everyday lives and cultures, especially how Santa Maria and Guadalupe's economies surround agriculture. For example, my dad, my mom, my aunts and uncles all work in Guadalupe because of the same job opportunities. Another example that connects Santa Maria and Guadalupe is the Santa Maria riverbed that connects them geographically. Something that me and my fellows have been doing is connecting both cities via the riverbed, which is like officially expanding it and like connecting it officially, Oh, please take into consideration connecting both of these cities into the same district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I live in District 5. I believe that the west of Santa Maria and Guadalupe should be drawn together as a district because both cities are similar in racial population who would benefit from the same choices made by the district. The choices made for the other cities like Solvang would not be relevant to Guadalupe since they are different in economy and jobs like agriculture. Santa Maria and Guadalupe are neighborhood cities, so it makes sense that they should be under the same district. A project that I am working with right now is expanding the Santa Maria River Trail that would connect Guadalupe and Santa Maria. This is just one other example of how the two cities already work together and are connected. Please take into consideration putting West Santa Maria and Guadalupe together so we can receive the effective representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Valeria Medina. I'm a student at Pioneer Valley. I'm an incoming sophomore, and I'm here with Pause. I believe that Guadalupe being grouped in with the South county communities is a negative thing, not only for their citizens, but those in Santa Maria, whom they share far more in common with. The South County communities are so different from the county, from Guadalupe, that Guadalupe is being overshadowed when it comes to considerations. Decisions that affect them are being made without them primarily in mind, which is why I believe that Santa Maria and Guadalupe should be grouped together. The economy and culture of both of the cities of Santa Maria and Guadalupe are very similar, that it just makes more sense for them to be grouped together. I hope you take this into consideration in making the decision. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Evening.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Escobar, and I'm a resident of Santa Maria with the Cause organization. Santa Maria and Guadalupe are Latino majority communities. I'm here to say we need a Latino majority district. I believe we are a community of interest because we are an agricultural, working class, and farm worker community facing disparities in housing, education, and healthcare with unique and economic needs. As a child of an agricultural worker, I have seen the uniqueness of Santa Maria and Guadalupe compared to the other areas they're combined with. Guadalupe has very little in common with a place like Bella Vista or Solvang, and should be represented with Santa Maria instead. Please take these things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Hazel Davalos. I am speaking on behalf of CAUSE. We're a social, economic, and environmental justice organization here in Santa Barbara County, and we primarily work with working and working class immigrant families, in particular farm workers in North County. As previous speakers have mentioned, our county's population is 46% Latino, and we need a Latino majority district in order to increase representation on the Board of Supervisors. One clear way for us to accomplish this goal would be to join Santa Maria and Guadalupe in one district. These neighboring cities make up an important community of interest for Santa Barbara County. The separation of our communities has felt impractical and unjust. Guadalupe shares so much more in common with Santa Maria than it does with mid-county cities or Isla Vista. And we hope this commission will correct this in the new maps. I grew up with close friends from Guadalupe. We'd all go to the same stores, play in the same sports leagues, attend social gatherings and family parties in both cities. And one example of what can happen when we don't have this adequate representation. We have a big issue that plagues many Santa Maria and Guadalupe residents. It's traffic congestion on East Main Street, which is the only corridor that connects the two cities. It's 2-lane opposite traffic, technically a state highway. And if you've ever been there at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. when farm workers commute to the fields in between the cities, you'd know what I'm talking about. But this is an example of the problems that go overlooked when you have two separate county supervisors representing an area that really should be one. Neither feels like it's their responsibility, and a community suffers. When making these maps, you should not only be looking at communities of interest, but pay special attention to the parts of the county that have traditionally been disenfranchised. Communities like Guadalupe and Santa Maria, who deserve to have a unified voice and better representation at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, let me check with you again. Anybody online raise their hand?
No.
Okay. We get everybody here? All right, very well. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing for this evening. I want to give those of you that spoke, first of all, appreciation for coming tonight and sharing your experiences. That's been very helpful for us. But I also want to give you a little bit of a challenge. You referenced that you hope that we fix the map. Well, the maps we're going to choose from are going to come from the maps that people like you draw and submit. So your job's not done. You came and talked to us this evening. Well, that was the first thing we asked you to do. So well done. But you still have a little bit of an assignment, which is to actually draw those maps and show us how to do what it is you think we ought to do. Right? Put it on a piece of paper or using one of the tools that was demonstrated earlier that are available through the website. So thank you for sharing this evening. This has been very informative and particularly want to acknowledge our young people who came out this evening, as well as those others who shared with us tonight. But again, it only works if you draw the map and send and submit it so that we have it to consider and choose from. Commissioners, any other comments before we move on? Mr. Bradley.
Yeah, I also want to echo our chair's comments. Thank you to all the speakers this evening, but especially the youthful residents of this area. We really need your voice. We need your youthful voices. They're so important. But thank you for coming. I did have a question that I hope gets addressed at some point. I have heard no mention of New Coyama or the Coyama Valley. I'd like to know where residents here in this part of the county feel about New Coyama. A lot in common, and I just wondered if anyone has comments about that. Thank you.
Very good.
I just wanted to say that.
Make sure you turn your microphone on. Yep.
I just wanted to say, thanks for coming and thanks for all the good information you offered us. I also wanted to say that I am told that this process, redistricting, really takes off when the first citizen drawn map shows up on drawsantabarbaracounty.org. In other words, when we start getting information from citizens in the form of maps, we can really begin our work. Yeah, there's also the question of getting the census data, which is an important part of our work as well. That comes in October. But I challenge all of us to draw the maps to drawsantabarbaracounty.org.
Thank you. Sure, we'll take one more. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add on to your comment about Cuyama. I actually met a few people from Cuyama who are advocating for this issue. And just like Guadalupe citizens, they also feel historically left out. We know that they are often lumped together and in the same district of Montecito. They share similar concerns and they do similar things that Guadalupe citizens do, which is make the hour drive to shop in Santa Maria. So while they are a very important community, we also need to make sure that we are challenged and we will meet that challenge and provide maps. But we also want to make sure that you are up to the challenge to advocate for us. So today you saw many young people, including myself, trying to advocate for our friends and our neighbors. But I want to extend a challenge to you that you should advocate for what you heard here today. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Okay, commissioners, we'll move on with the agenda. The next item is just two informational items. We remind those in the public on a regular basis about these two items. The first is the Commissioner ex parte disclosure. There is a reporting form on our website that the commissioners are using. It compiles all of the reportable actions in one place and is available for viewing by the public. And so we refer you there. In addition, there is a form on that website that allows you to recommend community organizations that you believe we should connect with as part of our outreach efforts. We have a large list and our outreach team has been working through that. But if there are organizations that you believe need to be included, please use the form on the website to submit that information so that we can reach out and bring presentations like this or share other information that they can share on our behalf with their constituents. So please refer to those two. Commissioners, the next item would be our consent calendar, which comprises items 4 and 5. These are regular routine items and will be enacted with one motion unless a member of the commission wishes to pull an item for further discussion. Are there any requests to pull an item? If not, I would take a motion to accept the consent calendar. Mr. Bray makes the motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Ms. Tilton, can you take us through a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Trotsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Twibell,
Aye.
Commissioner McClintock, Vice Chair Turley,
Aye.
Commissioner Bradley,
Aye.
Commissioner Kasich,
Aye.
Commissioner Bray,
Aye.
Commissioner Ochoa. Was that an aye? Yes, okay. And Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Chair Morris?
Hi. Very well. We will now move to item number 6, which is discussion and deliberation and possible action regarding an appointment for the 2nd, 5th District Commissioner. Before we begin discussion on that, Commissioners, I want to disclose one item out of a desire to be transparent. The Chamber of Commerce that I run is considering some remodeling of our office building. And Mr. Martinez's firm, one of his associates, is doing some of the original or some of the early architectural concept drawings for us. So just wanted to put that on the table. I have spoken with our legal counsel about it, and she did not feel that that rose to a level of a conflict. But I did want to just let you all know that we do have some potential business transactions between my employer and his firm. So with that, Commissioners, this is a continued item from our last full meeting. As you know, we conducted an interview with, we have previously interviewed both Mr. Martinez and Mr. Hartman, who are in our pool of potential candidates from the 5th District and have indicated a willingness and an availability to fill the opening created by the departure of Commissioner Rios. Again, because we have previously interviewed them, we're not going to do that this evening again. For those in the public, if you look at our agenda, there's a link to their recordings of their original interviews, which commissioners have had the opportunity to review again as part of this process. I would acknowledge that Mr. Hartman is present here in chambers. Mr. Martinez is present with us on the Zoom panel as well this evening. So with that, I would open it up for any discussion, or if someone is ready to put a motion on the table for us to consider and see if we can move forward. For those in the public, I also want to just make one quick technical reference. The ordinance that established our commission requires that for any action to be taken by the commission, it requires a 7-vote minimum threshold. So you may have read in the minutes that there was a vote taken at a previous meeting that might have looked like a majority vote. Actually, it was a majority vote, but it did not meet that 7-vote requirement, and so the motion failed. That's a bit of a technical uniqueness to our commission, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of why that might have looked like it should have passed, but in fact did not. So now I'll stop talking and let the commissioners get us started. And make sure you turn your mic on if you're going to.
Just
Ms. Adams.
A point of clarification, at that meeting where we did not achieve a 7-5 or a 7-4 majority vote, there were 2 votes taken. One vote was, shall we approve Martinez? And the other vote was, shall we approve Hartman? So we had 2 votes and we split exactly 6-5, 5-6 on both of those votes.
That's correct.
Second point of clarification, because we are now at 10, do we still require 7?
Yeah, so I spoke with our counsel about that prior to the meeting, and the interpretation is the ordinance specifies 7 and does not speak about, does that slide with less commissioners seated. So the instruction is we still need 7. Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, I'd like to keep talking. Two things. One, this is a point of clarification of part of the public comment record that came to me and to all commissioners recently. Public comment happens here in, live and in person. It also comes in as written commentary. And on July 7th and in June 19th, I was referenced in the commentary public comment coming from a person named Denise Adams, no relation, a District 1 resident. And she said some things that weren't true. So I needed to clarify them. I want to affirm the one accurate assertion that Ms. Adams made in her public comments on July 7th and June 19th. And I also wanted to sort of correct the inaccurate assertions. First of all, I am not a Democratic operative. Second of all, I have not changed my party preference to no party preference in order to, jigger the balance, right, of the commission. I have been a Democrat, a registered Democrat for most of my adult life, voting mostly for Democratic candidates with the occasional Republican ringer. So I am a registered Democrat. I am not active at all in the formal Democratic Party. I have not changed my party preference, and these were things that were said in the public record. I am, however, a volunteer with the Fund for Santa Barbara and have been for many years. Proud of the work that organization does. So that's a bit about creating a more correct public record and public comment.
Can I interrupt just real quick, because I think you're going to move on to making a statement, and you just reminded me of a step that I had missed, which is we actually need to take public comment on this item before we consider it.
Thank you very much.
So
yes,
thank you for referencing that, because that triggered a memory. Let me start first. Mr. Daniels, could you tell us whether there are members of the public online who would like to make comment on this particular item? And once we've done those, we will come back to the individuals in the chambers that want to do the same.
So we have 2 hands raised at present. The first is Roy Reed.
Good evening, Mr. Reed.
Oh, good evening, Chair Morris and commissioners. I'm Roy Reed. I'm board president of the Santa Barbara County Taxpayers Association. I'm also a resident of the 5th District here in Santa Maria. We're certainly on board with the importance of your task, an opportunity which appears only once in 10 years, and the critical necessity and obligation to produce the best district map possible. In that light, I'd like to comment on and amplify the qualifications of Tom Martinez as a candidate for a seat on the commission. I've known Mr. Martinez for many years, as well as his father and other family members, and can personally vouch for his deep roots and connection with the community, as well as his long record of public service. His record of personal development and success provide an excellent model for community members, and his long record of public service, which he recounted during his earlier interview in front of your commission, confirms his solid qualifications for the role of redistricting commissioner. His record of accomplishment as an architect and in his many public roles demonstrate that Tom possesses the intellectual abilities, the commitment, and the interpersonal skills your position demands in abundance. As a means of confirmation, I've been a member of at least 2 groups where Tom used his interpersonal skills to craft collaborative solutions among participants who represented considerable challenges to that end. I'm confident that Tom Martinez would provide a great asset to your commission and to the redistricting plan which you're tasked to produce. In conclusion, as a county taxpayer association, I'd like to remind you that we are nonpartisan and we're tasked with representing the totality of Santa Barbara County taxpayers. But we're a bit puzzled as to how your commission aims to best accomplish your task, being mindful of your stated duty to provide districts which are reasonably representative of the county's diversity, when the composition of the commission as it now exists is anything but a reasonable representation of the county's diversity. You know, I've served on many commissions, many boards, and many corporate boards, and it's a well-demonstrated fact that organizations best serve the community they represent when their composition is a reflection of that community. The addition of Tom Martinez to the Redistricting Commission will not only add an exceptionally competent member to the commission, but would be an important step in allowing the commission to rise to that standard. It's for those reasons that the County Taxpayers Association supports naming Tom Martinez as a member of your commission. Now, since I have just a second left, when you have commissions that don't accurately represent the community, you wind up with district maps that sometimes look like a California tiger salamander and do things like lumping New Crema and Guadalupe with cities in the South County. I find myself in the unusual position of agreeing with cause and certainly supporting coming up with a map that would combine Guadalupe with Santa Maria based on their commonality, and also based on the fact that there's enormous economic connection between the communities. So hopefully resultant maps will reflect that. And while they're at it, Cuyama is a much better partner with Santa Maria than with Montecito. So in the end, again, reiterate our support of Tom Martinez, and we very much thank you for the opportunity to comment on this important issue.
Thank you, sir. Really quick, just to Ms. Tilton or Dr. Phillips, can we turn the volume up a little on that remote speaker? Is that possible? Maybe that's as good as we're going to get. We'll try here.
Yeah. Yes, we just got the confirmation from the back, our technician in the back that we can.
He gave us a thumbs up. All right, let's move on then. Who's next speaker from the remote audience?
We have Lee Heller, followed by Jesus Morales.
Welcome back, Dr. Heller.
Chair Morris and members of the commission. Oh, there comes my name again. This is so tough. I mean, and I have such respect for all of you as you struggle with this, and respect for the members of the community, including the prior speaker, and respect for both applicants for this position. Both are highly qualified. I'm really admire their willingness to serve. At the end of the day, you know that I think like a lawyer. That's my training. That's my understanding of how the ordinance operates. And that ordinance, as Chair Morris mentioned recently, controls your decisions. And Phil Seymour submitted a letter that I think summarizes the essence of the issue. This commission did not avoid appointing diversity. Ironically, and for reasons that I really struggle with, those folks have left for a variety of reasons. And the original pool, unfortunately, as we know, skewed older, whiter, and maler, although I have nothing against older, whiter, and maler people. But at the end of the day, 2 of the 3 controlling provisions that determine your decisions involve representational party preference. So although both of these gentlemen seem to me to be very highly qualified, I think at the end of the day, if you pick a Republican and you end up with a significant overrepresentation of Republicans, you're in violation of the ordinance and put your decision-making at risk. If you pick a Democrat, you are in keeping with the 2 controlling provisions of the ordinance that require partisan parity in the commission membership. So I'm saying stuff you've heard before. I just feel like I need to say it again with my lawyer's hat on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others from the online?
We have Jesus Morales, followed by Lata Murti.
Good evening, Mr. Morales.
Buenas noches. ¿Me puede escuchar?
We can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Pues, hablo para comentarles que mi familia, igual que yo, apoyamos a Tom Martínez por completo. Tom es una persona honesta, con integridad, que quiere lo mejor para la costa central, y la comisión necesita representación latino. Y yo creo que Tom para nosotros es el mejor candidato. Gracias, es todo.
Thank you.
And we have Lata Murti next.
Good evening, Dr. Murti.
Oh, sorry. Rebecca Gowing.
Oh, we switched order. Okay. Ms. Gowing, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Gowing. I'm a local real estate broker in the community of Santa Maria and the Central Coast. And I want to promote Tom Martinez. Tom has been a member of the Santa Maria community for a long, long time. I've known Tom for a very long time. He's an architect in our area. You all heard his speech, last month. But I really think that he will represent the mainstay of what Santa Maria needs and be a good add to this commission. I understand there's like some disparity between the political affiliations, but I think you guys need to really pay attention to getting the North County and the Santa Maria, the Guadalupe, the Cuyama areas represented properly by the right person, and Tom is that man.
Thank you.
Now we have Dr. Murty.
Good evening, Dr. Murty.
Good evening, Chair Morris and commissioners. I wish I could be there in person this evening, but unfortunately I couldn't, so I'm here with you online. First, I want to thank Commissioner Rios for her service to the commission. I am sad about her resignation, but happy for the new opportunity she is pursuing. If you're listening, Commissioner Rios, congratulations. Chair Morris and commissioners, I know you have another difficult decision before you, and others have already mentioned the ordinance, but I hope you don't mind me mentioning it again, because in making this difficult decision, I urge you to consider the ordinance for establishing this commission. It states that, quote, "The political party preferences of the members of the commission shall be as proportional as possible to the percentage of voters who are registered with each political party in the county of Santa Barbara as determined by registration at the most recent statewide election." End quote. So accordingly, since 46% of Santa Barbara County voters are Democrats, 25% are Republicans, and 29% are no party preference or other, Commissioner Rios's 5th district vacancy should, by ordinance, go to a Democrat. Then the commission would be 45% Democrat, 27% Republican, and 27% no party preference. This comes very close to the percentage of voters registered with each political party in Santa Barbara County. But just as importantly, Democrat Mr. Hartman is the right person for the job. As an educator who teaches high school government, he not only understands civic engagement, but also has the passion and ability to analyze and discuss it with others. As an educator myself, I appreciate that. Commissioner Rios also had a background in education, so what Mr. Hartman can contribute to the commission is similar to what Commissioner Rios contributed as far as professional expertise, as someone said earlier in public comment. Moreover, Mr. Hartman's age as compared to Mr. Martinez's age is closer to that of Ms. Rios. And considering that the 5th district is a young district age-wise, as we saw tonight in public comment, it's important to have a younger person from the district on the commission. Please take all of these factors into account: political party affiliation, professional experience, and age when making your decision for the 5th district vacancy. Most importantly, please consider who best represents the 5th district and can make the commission more representative of the county as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have no hands raised in the online.
Very well. Let me turn to the audience in the chambers and invite anyone who'd like to make a comment on this item to join us at the podium.
Good evening, Chairman Morris. Second time today.
Indeed. Good morning. Good evening.
Commissioners, good to see you in public for the first time and not online. My name is LaWanda Lyons Pruitt, and I represent the Santa Maria Lompoc branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Many of you know us as the NAACP, NAACP. In addition to the comments made by Dr. Murty, Latinx represent registered voters. Registered Republicans are 15%. If you appoint a Republican to fill the vacancy, that would result in the Republican Party being overrepresented on this commission. I would reiterate our position that we've stated before, and that is people of color do not simply want someone to represent them based upon their racial status. If all people of color and even all Latinx people view the world the same way and can speak adequately on behalf of others from their demographic group, People of color are diverse. And like white people, they hold views and have values and want to see those reflected in the makeup of this commission. So appointing someone who is Republican and Latinx to replace a Democrat would not truly reflect the views of the overwhelming majority of the people of color who are either registered Democrats or no party preference. Tonight, you're considering one Democrat, Mr. Hartman. I too was impressed with his civic engagement and him wanting to model the kind of civic engagement that he teaches in the classroom. Thus, it seems to us that the most logical and only choice is to appoint Mr. Hartman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
And Chair Morris, I did receive written comments related to this item.
Please.
We received written correspondence from Denise Adams in support of Tom Martinez, from Colleen Estrada in support of Tom Martinez, from Lori Punches in support of Tom Martinez, from Peggy Wilson in support of Tom Martinez, from Dan Blau in support of Tom Martinez, from Kevin Walters, representing the president of Hancock College in support of Tom Martinez, Mike Cardona supporting Tom Martinez, Shannon Seifert, CEO of the Y, supporting Tom Martinez, Fred Ortiz supporting Tom Martinez, Philip Seymour, attorney for the Santa Barbara County Democratic Central Committee, supporting appointing a Democrat to fill the vacancy. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Todd Wilson, and I'm an Orchid homeowner. So I'm in the 4th District, and I'm here before you to support Mr. Hartman. And the basis for my recommendation to the commission, and by the way, I've been watching you in action since the ping pong balls, and it's nice to see you in person. The basis for my recommendation is that Mr. Hartman, well, the two applicants would replace Janet Rios. I've had an opportunity to watch both of the interviews. I have seen Janet Rios in action and know a little bit about her, as I do a little bit about all of you. And when I compare and contrast Janet Rios and the two applicants, there's a significant difference. Mr. Hartman is significantly younger. He's an educator. He works with young people. Janet Rios, among all of her attributes, that was one of my biggest impressions, was her youth that she would have brought to our council. And it's really important that everybody be represented. Mr. Martinez made a comment about those who complained about our government processes effectively should not be able to complain if they don't participate. And our county processes, and as you redraw the district lines, actually touches everybody, not just those people who call in, not those people who write the letters to the editors, not those people who attend the Chamber of Commerce meetings and orchestrate and organize our economic vitality. And so I highly recommend Mr. Hartman for your appointment. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Beebe, and I'm a student with CAUSE, and I attend Pioneer Valley High School. So I've lived in Santa Maria all of my life, and I've seen good representation and I've seen bad. So on behalf of myself and CAUSE, and a student in District 5, I believe Mr. Hartman best represents our ideologies, and he is genuinely the most qualified out of these two. And we would like to strongly endorse Mr. Hartman to become the new representation for District 5. And we would appreciate if you take our endorsement and really make this decision based on what true Santa Marians want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Kisimata. I previously spoke already, but I just want to voice my support for Mr. Hartman to be elected or voted in as a representative for myself and for my community. As a educator specifically, and the legality, as I've heard before in different comments, the whole civil engagement thing, I believe he is the most prepared to represent us. And as a Democrat, I do believe that his views strongly reflect the majority of Santa Maria. For those reasons, I believe that he is the best option. And I hope that in later making your decision, you take into consideration my public comment and the public comment of others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Good evening.
My name is Margaret Ontiveros. I'm a resident of District 5. I've lived in Santa Maria for 37 years on the Central Coast for my entire life. And of that time, I've known Mike Hartman for the last 20 years, mostly in his capacity as an educator. I do believe that he does have a clear understanding of the redistricting process by virtue of his professional background as an educator. But even more importantly, he's eager to serve the community and assure all of us that the redistricting is carried out in a fair manner that results in districts that truly represent our various community of interests. One of the things that we've talked about this evening that's been brought up is the need to engage people and the need to engage a wide variety of people, particularly as we look at communities of interest and as we look at the diversity of our county. And I really do believe that it's crucial that we get someone who's welcoming and inviting and open-minded to all of the things that our neighbors have to say and all of their concerns as we drop the maps. And I think that Mike Hartman fits the bill. Thank you very much.
Hello
Good evening.
again. I want to speak to this as someone who has known Janet Reel since I was in second grade. I grew up being best friends with her brother. So Janet to me was always someone that I saw in the community, just really caring about everything that she did, her impact on others, her impact on the community. Now having grown up, seeing the work and the influence she's really had on the people here in Santa Maria is inspiring. And I've always aspired to really emulate that in my own life and work. With that being said, I do want to reiterate that I really do believe that Mike Hartman is the best choice to represent District 5. As an educator, he has deep community ties with his students, with their families, an understanding of the redistricting process. And to me, most importantly, as a resident of Santa Maria, lifelong resident, and a friend to the Reels family, a better reflection of what Janet stands for, continues to work for, and advocate for in our communities and beyond. Michael Hartman is the best choice, not only for the legalities of Democratic and Republican representation within the commission, but like LaWanda mentioned earlier, Latino folks, like other people of color, are not a monolith. Just because you have an identity does not mean that you're the most effective or best representation for that identity as a monolith. We have very diverse experiences in life. Michael Hartman, I believe, has a better understanding of how to represent us. We are, again, primarily a younger community, a working class community, and a community that Michael Hartman has continued to dedicate his life towards serving. So once more, I really recommend urge you to consider Michael Hartman as the appointment for District 5's representation. And again, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Dr. Phillips, do we have any new hands raised on the online list?
We have 3 hands raised, the first being Carlos Herrera.
Good evening, Mr. Herrera.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can, yes, sir.
Awesome, thanks. So Tom Martinez has dedicated his life and career to our community. He is a small business owner who has created good paying jobs and good opportunities for local residents, a community leader who has served on countless boards and commissions, using his experience and knowledge of our region to provide a foundation for success. Latinos are currently underrepresented on the commission, and he will be a strong voice for the Latino population on your board. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next hand is Joe Pierre.
Good evening, Mr. Pierre.
Good evening, Chair Morris and Commissioners. As stated, my name is Joe Pierre. I'm the North County Vice Chair of the Santa Barbara County Democratic Central Committee, and I'm speaking today in support of Michael Hartman for the appointment to fill the seat vacated by Commissioner Rios. Measure G, the charter, the commission for this commission, states the event of a vacancy, to the extent practical, the replacement commissioner shall be selected to maintain the balance of the district representation and the political affiliations that existed prior to the vacancy. The only way to do that is to appoint Michael Hartman. Measure G also states that the makeup of the commission shall be proportionate as possible to the percentage of voters who are registered with each political party. As previous stated, there's 46% of the voters in the Santa Barbara County are registered as Democrats. If you appoint anyone other than Michael Hartman, then the balance would favor the Republicans by 10 percentage points. The only way to keep the proper balance of party affiliation is to appoint Michael Hartman. A small business owner is the polar opposite of an educator. Michael Hartman is an educator also. He represents more closely that of Commissioner Rios than does applicant Martinez. So tonight, I think you should appoint Mr. Hartman as the replacement commissioner for the vacancy created by Janet Rios. Thank you once again. Good night.
Thank you.
The last hand we have raised is Gail Teton Landis.
Good evening, Ms. Teton Landis.
Good evening, Chair Morris and Commissioners. I know you now face another difficult choice between Michael Hartman and Tom Martinez. And I've heard both of them speak, and I'm here in support of Michael Hartman. In the guidance provided in the ordinance, to paraphrase, it says that effort should be made to replace as close to the same with same. Michael has an education background and is a Democrat similar to Janet Rios. And I do appreciate all the voices that were in person tonight, especially the youth who spoke up in his favor. Also, in my reading of the guidance, party proportional representation seems to be a mandated priority, and diversity is a desirable component. I cannot overstate how unfortunate it is that the commission has lost several people of color due to resignations and the ever shrinking pool that you have to pick from. So I wish you good luck, and I hope you will support Michael Hartman. Thank you.
Thank you. That it? Okay. Last chance. Anybody else need to make a comment on this item? Very good. Thank you for your input. We appreciate that input. Commissioner Adam, I think we interrupted you to fix my mistakes, so we'll come back.
Happy to help you fix your mistakes.
Thank you very much.
So I really appreciated hearing Mr. Wilson from Orcutt, who said that he has been watching the commission's work since the ping pong balls, which means that he remembers that 5 of the initial commissioners were selected at random via ping pong balls, and that those 5 selected the next 6. I just want to say that I was none of those 11. No ping pong ball for me, and I was not assigned to this committee or chosen for this commission by those 5 ping pong ball random commissioners. No, I, like others on the commission, were replaced because of resignations. 6 of the 11 original commissioners on this commission have resigned, right? 2 of them, I believe, from the original ping pong 5, right? So there has been a lot of turnover here. And I'm also aware that when I was asked to interview and apply for a position that didn't have a commissioner anymore, I was asked because I was a Democrat. And that part of that was, sort of, I guess, important to the commission at that time. They were working on making roughly proportional representation based on political party affiliation. So I'm not an original appointed member, not one of the first 11. And when I was interviewed by the commission, I was interviewed because I was a Democrat. That was what they were seeking at that time. So tonight I have an opportunity to vote on our next and hopefully our last replacement commissioner, right? There are 2 equally qualified, and I mean that they're equally qualified. Either one of these people could, I'm sure, do just as good a job as I am trying to do in my commissioner's seat. But tonight the commission is again proportionally out of balance. And needs to think about that. And maybe also think about age, one of the other things that we try to balance. So that's why when we come to a vote, I will vote for Mr. Hartman because Mr. Hartman represents proportional balance or proportionally representation based on political party affiliation, which is of all the vexing representative matters that the commissioners who will vote must consider, is the most important one. And it's the reason that the commissioner called on me at one point to interview for the commission. I also wanted to appreciate the reminder that people of color are not a monolith, which 2 speakers mentioned, and how often tonight I heard about a majority Latino district, not a majority Latino commission, right? Or, a representative commission. That's it.
Comments from other commissioners? Commissioner Bradley.
I want to reiterate what several people have already said tonight, excuse me, about the selection process that we began with. The pool that we started with already had us behind the 8 ball with proportionally representing the demographics of our county. And we, as a commission, had nothing to do with that process, as we know. That was handed to us. I was one of the ping pong 5. So, I was one of the first people who got handed that situation. And, if you think back, if you look back in the notes, the agendas, and anybody can do this, if you go back to November 12th of last year and look at the slate of candidates, it's pretty apparent. It's a good idea to look at that slate and see what we began with. So we had to appoint 6. We had to appoint 6 more commissioners, and only 6 of those remaining for appointment were Latinx. And of those 6, one of them, Jennifer Harden, I believe, declined. So that left us with only 5. So we did appoint, and I dare say with due diligence and great concern for ethnic balance, ethnic racial balance, we appointed 3, Ben Olmedo, Amanda Ochoa, and Janet Rios. We also appointed our only African-American representative, which was one of my fellow UCSB workers, James Utley. So you may remember. And unfortunately, of those 4, 3 of them resigned. So it's unfortunate. All of them were well qualified as commissioners, and I'd certainly miss their company here because they were reasonable voices, intelligent people, had lots of good ideas. So because 3/4 of those folks resigned, we are in this predicament now, and we're in a bind. Now, I want to also remind you, because history is important, think back about what's happened. On January 25th, Carrie Gray resigned as a Republican, as a Democrat, in order to make sure that we had partisan representation with a Republican. And that is when we appointed Jim Bray and Amanda Ochoa. So he gave up a seat because he thought partisan balance was important enough to give up a seat for. And I would respectfully call upon my fellow commissioners, Bray and Ochoa, to honor his concern with partisan balance by reciprocating and appointing a Democrat tonight. So I'm going to leave it with that. And I hope somebody else has some comments on that history, because I think it bears well on where we are tonight.
Commissioner Trusky.
Thank you. I too agree that both candidates are really excellent candidates. And I just agree that it's a tough decision. I think that tonight we have an opportunity to right a wrong that we were left with, having an imbalance of candidates. When I think of who is best to represent the 5th district, I think of someone that was born and raised in the 5th district. That's Tom Martinez. I think of someone that comes from an agricultural and farm worker immigrant family. That's Tom Martinez. I think of someone that's volunteered for 40 years with the Boys and Girls Club here in Santa Maria. That's Tom Martinez. And when I think of someone that would appeal to a wide variety of people, that would be Tom Martinez. I mean, he can relate to a broad section of our community and our county and appeal to a wide variety of people. He understands the issues of the farm workers, and he understands the issues of the youth. And he's also a professional in our community. I've just heard a lot tonight about a need for representation in the Hispanic community, for there needing to be a majority district for Hispanics, a need for representation and voice. Currently, there is no male Hispanic representation on this commission. And if we vote another white male on this commission, then we've yet again contributed to the imbalance of this commission, and we can't keep reaching back to what we were left with when, as a commission, we're making a decision to further that imbalance by electing Michael Hartman. I think there's no teeth in the idea that we have to vote for a Democrat, because previously we were going to vote a no party preference person on the commission, which would have completely skewed that proportional representation on the commission. And there was no objection to that. I think we have an opportunity to do the right thing tonight. I think the right thing is to bring Tom Martinez onto the commission. He'd be a great add. I think he'd be wonderful to work with. He's been at every hearing since he's been interviewed, and I think he has the commitment to stay on this board and see it to the end. And I think that he has the time to commit to this commission. And I think he would bring a voice to this commission that doesn't exist here right now, an important voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to catalog all the community involvement with Mr. Martinez that's been done previously. One of the things that I don't think was mentioned, and to me is important, was he was honored by the Santa Barbara Foundation for their award of excellence in Celebrate Philanthropy. I think that was a huge honor. Another thing that I appreciated about him was the fact that he attended both of our workshop sessions between our last meeting and this meeting, the session in Goleta, as well as a session in Lompoc, which to me showed his interest, concern, one, to get to know the issues, and two, to get to know the commissioners. So I really appreciated that about him. And the last point is one of my greatest concern. I kind of agree with Commissioner Adams there in numbers being skewed, in that we've heard tonight that the Hispanic Latino Commission makes up 46% of this county. If I'm doing the math right, and I'm not a math guy, the Hispanic Latino representation on this commission is 1%. I just think that's going to be an issue that we need to deal with. The very low representation at 1% of the Hispanic Latino community on this commission. Thank you.
I think it's about 9, but close enough. The point's the same. The point's the same. I get your point. He did acknowledge that. No, but your point is taken, and I don't think it changes. So, Mr. Turley, I see you ready to go.
Thank you. I just want to speak to the need for representation in the Hispanic community, because I think that has been thrown around a little bit tonight on both sides. We just had multiple people of color and organizations that represent them ask us to appoint Mr. Hartman as their representative. Who in Santa Maria can be engaged with this appointment who would not be, now that we are losing Janet Rios, as incredibly qualified, connected, and well-liked by me, as well as I think everyone who has met him on the commission. Tom Martinez is, it's clear from the public comment and his background that Mr. Hartman is the candidate who would best replace what Janet brought to this commission. I'd like to speak to the elephant in the room. I'm concerned that this vote might suggest the appearance of partisan division that we have worked so hard to avoid, and want to remind us all that maintaining public trust and following the language of Measure G should be our guiding principles for all that we do on this commission.
Thank you. Mr. Kasich.
I will try not to repeat so many of the things that were said. I think that for me, the overwhelming issue is, are we here to do a open-ended interview and find the best person possible to be on the commission? Or do we have a responsibility to follow this ordinance? And if we do, the ordinance is very clear that we have to maintain political parity. So whether we like the fact that I've heard a number of comments, which I don't particularly like, that we're turning into a board of old white guys, which I thought that was the elephant in the room. I think it's important to realize that I think both candidates are very well qualified, but we have a mandate, and I think the mandate is very clear, and it does not say take 4 or 5 different items into account. It says political affiliation must be maintained with the district, with the county, to this board. And I don't know how you get around that. I don't like the fact that we don't have color, women, age, any of those things, but that's out of my hands. We were given an ordinance, and I think we need to follow it. And less than that, I'm not a lawyer, but I think we'll put all our work in jeopardy that somebody could say, you didn't follow an ordinance. That's what my thoughts.
Mr. McClintock.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Michael Hartman to the commission.
Very well. Is there a second?
I will second.
Looks like we have a couple of people seconding. Before we take a vote, let me just double check really quick.
We have a
two
request to
commissioners
speak
online.
from Commissioner Tarbell.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know we have two commissioners that are remote, and so I want to make sure that they get a chance to just quickly weigh in. And then we'll come back to this particular motion. So Commissioner Tarbell?
Yes, I just wanted to ask Andrea Orden again to give us her interpretation, because I hear the word mandate, and I'm not sure the last time we talked about that it was a mandate. So if she could explain that once again to everyone.
Yes, I'd be happy to talk about it once again. First of all, it is an extraordinary situation that you're faced with, and I do not envy you at all. It seems to me that you have heard extremely articulate legal opinions from both Mr. Seymour and Ms. Heller. But as you probably remember, I have not called this a mandate, that the ordinance absolutely requires that. When you have an ordinance that has as many factors in it as this one does, there is a way to good faith in understand the ordinance and take into account many of the factors. In some ways, there's really two different kinds of questions. The first question is, does that ordinance in plain language say to you, you must adhere to the extent practical, the replacement commissioner shall be selected to maintain the balance of district representation and political affiliations? Does it mandate that when it says something like to the extent practical? Especially when right before that, it tells us that you must utilize the criteria set forth in 4H3. 4H3 says you've got to talk about ensure diversity, including racial, ethnic, geographic, age, and gender diversity. And it also warns you again, don't use formulas or specific ratios for that purpose. It also says it shall, and that sounds like a mandate, shall be proportional. And then it says, as possible, to the percentage of voters who are registered with each political party in the county of Santa Barbara. So the language is used there that does give guidance, no question about it. And I have said, when you measure the difference between the language of the ordinance related to political affiliation versus any of the diversity categories, there is more emphasis on political affiliation. It's repeated twice, no question about it. So on the first level of what does it ask you to do, I think it makes political affiliation primary, but it doesn't make it solely. It's not a mandate only. And there are two questions. What do you think it's telling you, the ordinance? One, and you want to follow the law. What does it say? When it has language that gives some flexibility in all of these areas, then you look to, is there real risk here? Is there risk to the commission in a future lawsuit? There may be a lawsuit on either side, no matter what you decide. Is the risk greater if you decide that you must go with the political affiliation? No, it's probably less on that situation. It may be greater if you go on the side of wanting that diversity. But in any event, given an ordinance of this flexibility, plus what you have gone through as a commission in trying to substantially comply with everything in the ordinance, I as the lawyer believe you have defensible positions on either side. And it is very, very difficult, especially since the people that you are looking at are so well qualified.
Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood what you said. Sorry, I just want to make sure what I understood what you said. And that is, there is no mandate, but there is a clear priority given to representational, proportional representation of party affiliation.
I think that is a clear, easy way of saying it. Yes.
Thank you.
Very well.
I'm sorry that you're behind me. I asked the lawyer, I asked our attorney did I get what she said? And what she said was, there is no mandate in Measure G, but there is a but it is a primary concern, right? That we have proportional representation by party affiliation, not a mandate, but a primary goal is that representational or proportional representation by party affiliation.
Clear as mud for everybody.
And just to add an additional clarification to that, we have already made decisions based on that understanding of Measure G. So I think it's important to remember that if we would like to be able to argue that we've been consistent in our decision-making and rationality for appointments, that there is a clear decision to be made here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. So Ms. Tilton, could you walk us through this?
Okay, the motion is to appoint candidate Hartman. Commissioner Trotsky.
No.
Commissioner Twibell.
No.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Turley.
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley.
Yes.
Commissioner Kasich.
Yes.
Commissioner Bray.
No.
Commissioner Ochoa.
Yes.
Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
Chair Morris.
Yes.
Motion carries. 7-3 for the appointment of Mr. Hartman.
Very well. At past meetings, we've had the opportunity to conduct that swearing in immediately. I don't know that I see someone from the county clerk's office here this evening. Is that correct?
They are online.
They are online. Excellent. So let's get them on screen. Mr. Hartman, if you could join us at the podium, please.
We have
Hi.
Angelica Ramirez from the county.
Yes. Hi, good evening, Chair Morrison, members of the commission. Thank you for having me, and congratulations to Michael Hartman on his appointment. I'll be administering the oath. So if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael Hartman, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties in which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Mr. Hartman. I do just quickly want to add to be on the lookout for an email. I will be emailing you an oath electronically, and if you could just please sign that and email it back to me, I would appreciate that.
You can't escape the paperwork. So congratulations. If you want to take a seat there for just a quick moment as at the table. Two quick items, folks, to finish this up this evening. First, our next business meeting will not actually be until October. So this may be a little premature, but it's on the agenda. So I'm going to ask, are there any agenda items commissioners would like to ensure appear on that agenda? Obviously, you can send that request to Ms. Tilton as we get closer to October, but if you know it now.
I know a agenda item that I think in the wake of what we've been going through with this, at some point after our map, whatever it looks like, is drawn and adopted, I would like to propose that we have an agendized time when we can talk about the process and make recommendations for amending it in order to avoid future cases if
Here.
Citizens Commission continues.
Yeah.
Let's try to.
Yes, please.
It's clear that the ordinance needs some revision, so everybody keep notes. And let's make sure we pass those on to whoever takes this up in the future. Very well. So final item on the agenda is just an open public comment opportunity. This is a chance for anybody attending the meeting to make a comment on an item we have not yet touched on this evening that you feel is relevant to tonight's meeting. There are.
We have a request to speak from Lee Heller.
Very well. Dr. Heller, welcome back again.
Chair Morris and commissioners, I want to assure you that many of us who have been watching and struggling alongside you are very aware of the need to revise the original ordinance to address the many challenges that you have faced. So I hope we will all work together on that going forward. So the next time around, the next commission has greater flexibility and greater ability to pick from a better pool that truly represents the diversity of the county. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we will adjourn. Yes, Commissioner Charlie.
One more item for the October agenda. I assume that we probably will be talking about marketing and outreach updates. So I'd like to get that on there if it's not already there.
Excellent point. And let me just do this really quickly. Claire, Ms. Burgess, are you still with us? From
Yes.
Tri-Pepe Smith, is she still online?
Yes.
Hi, Claire. Can you just give us a quick update on what you all have been doing to date, and maybe more particularly what the focus will be between now and the next time we formally meet in October?
Yes. So recently we've been making sure to have flyers and press releases sent out, as well as more frequent e-blasts to people who have signed up for notifications through the Draw Santa Barbara County website. We have also been conducting over 200 calls and sending out follow-up emails, over 150 follow-up emails to people who have signed up, as well as to the organizations that have been submitted by residents, by you commissioners, and just keeping them in the loop on the process, on things that are coming up. And in between now and October, when the next meeting is, we will continue to conduct those calls, do social media posts every single week. We have also provided all of you commissioners with the tools to conduct your own outreach, as well as posting on your own social media. as well as a presentation. If you plan on doing a presentation to any organizations, you have the talking points in the presentation as well.
Thanks. One of the things that I think we've talked about offline is the need, particularly in the next 6 to 8 weeks, to really hone that message down around maps, right? So that, but my fear is that we're going to show up at that meeting in October and people will come and say, hey, I'm ready to start talking about how we do this. And we're going to be, it's kind of late at that point, right? If you really look at our agenda for the fall, certainly by the first meeting in November, we're on a race to complete the review of maps and the refining of those choices and ultimately a selection of a final map. And so I worry that people are kind of waiting for the data, waiting for somebody else to go first, whatever it is they're waiting for. And we're going to get folks showing up here in October and saying, we're ready to start. And we're going to be like, you missed the train, right? So to those of you that are watching, to those of you that are, as commissioners, as you have opportunities to reach out to other groups, really that message needs to be that while the commission is not meeting, is the time for people to be drafting maps, even just using the estimated data. They'll have an opportunity to correct if needed. But really the rest of August and September is the time when people need to be drawing maps. Get your crayons out, folks, and let's go to work on that. So
I don't know if this is appropriate, but to the person with Trepepi Smith, forgive me, I forgot your name, but it sounds like what's being said here is that it's really important to get information out about the hearings, about the community hearings and the work groups, like the one that will be in Solvang, but a message about maps, the creation of maps. Even if you don't know everything you need to know about the tools, which include paper and pencil, that are already available at drawsantabarbaracounty.org. That seems like might help us. If that's an appropriate request or, bug in the ear to send to Trepepi Smith.
Yeah, and I will point out also that all of the workshops where those tools are kind of illustrated and their tutorials, that's all available on the website. If you go under the schedule section, you can watch previous workshops, previous hearings where that is walked through. And then again, all of the drawing of map, all of those tools are available and linked on the website, and encouraging people just to really kind of play around with them. I know sometimes it's difficult when you first do it and it's not always intuitive. So again, pointing people to those videos is definitely helpful.
And I may be just a little bit bold and would volunteer to the public that there are 11 folks up here that have been playing with those tools. I presume on our own time and have some familiarity. And I think any one of the 11 would be willing to meet with people in the community and help you understand them and walk you through the first time you play with them. So there are resources available to you to if you're just like, I don't know how to do this, reach out, somebody will answer the door and we'll make sure that you get that help. The workshop schedule is, just kind of by the nature of the calendar, a little early in the process, I think, for many folks. So, when your kids go back to school in a week or so and you got some time to focus on this, reach out, share with us. And then the final comment I would make to the commissioners is, if you need any coaching at all on how to get yourself invited to do a public presentation, talk to Commissioner Bray. He's been really good at getting my calendar filled up, so he can coach you on that as well. So with that, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you, everyone. I kept trying to figure out which